we're not successful if that consumer does not come to us, whether they're eating in your restaurants, whether they're playing in your casino, and whether if you don't have a good product on that basketball court, the fans are not going to come and buy those tickets, the sponsors aren't going to come.
If you were going to teach us a few key business principles, what are some of the core principles of business that you really, like, if you knew, if I die without my kids understanding these 3 to 5 things, like what would those 3 to 5 things be?
Know your numbers. No matter what business you're looking at, always know your numbers. Number 2, realize that we're not successful if that consumer does not come to us, whether they're eating in your restaurants, whether they're playing in your casino, and whether if you don't have a good product on that basketball court, the fans are not going to come and buy those tickets, the sponsors aren't going to come, and therefore you're not going to have the money to pay for those good players next year. You're not going to be able to pay Russell Westbrook and James Harden each $40 million a year. You've got to always remember, we're only as good as us taking care of that consumer. One of the things I teach everybody, and especially my kids, don't assume anything. People think that somebody walks in and gives you an answer that it's the right answer. And even when I tell somebody to do something, I don't assume they went and did it. I'll ask them a week later, did you do that I asked you to do? Because that was really important to me. Oh my gosh, I didn't do that. And I think that's the biggest mistake people make, is don't assume that everything's running right, don't assume anything.
Do you see parallels between the game that you play in business and sports? Is that why there is a passion for you on both sides?
100%. I operate by the 95-5 rule. 95% of everything we do in business, if we're doing anything, is right, so look for the 5%.
How do you find the 5%? This is so powerful, and reading it in the book, I was like, okay, here we go. So how do you spot the 5%? How do you know what 5% matters? How do you prioritize how you attack that 5%?
Okay, well, let me just say this, okay? I walked into this studio, okay? And I've done a lot of interviews, and as soon as I walk in, your people greet you, they introduce, you know, this, you come up here, here's some snacks, there's even a camera light, so if they're doing your makeup up there, it's a perfect lighting. I could tell this guy has his act together. This guy, I'm having a hard time finding his 5% because they're doing everything right. And I'm not just saying that, but you know everything I'm saying is true. That you have somebody meet us outside, we're not walking around lost, so I hadn't found the 5% here. I'm sure before the show's over I will, but
it's there. It's there for sure. I think you're right. Everybody has.
But I judged you and your operation the second I walked in, and it's no different if I'm pulling up to a retail store or a hotel or a restaurant or whatever, and before I get to the front door, I'm pulling up in that parking lot. Is the parking lot in pretty good shape? Are there weeds out there? Are there cigarette butts in the parking lot? Are there lights burn out? The front door's got a bunch of smudges on it. I haven't even walked in yet, and I can tell you this isn't a crisp operation. I can tell you everything, how the operation's going to be inside before I ever walked in the front door. Because if they're not taking care of the outside, the inside's not going to be good. And that's the same parallel that I used for the basketball team. We had a great year again. We've won the most games we've ever won in a 2-year period in my first 2 years of ownership. But I sat down with the general manager and the head coach and my top basketball people and said, all right, we did 95% of everything right, but we didn't beat Golden State again. So what do we need to do? How do we improve that 5%? And we kicked it around, and that's when we decided that maybe there's an opportunity to be a little more athletic and getting a great transition player who can speed the game up and make us a better team like a Russell Westbrook. And so that was the 5% we were looking for. Changing out a few coaching positions, changing out a few other players. You're never going to be great if you don't look for the 5%.
Yeah, as you were talking, I thought, okay, I'm beginning to get a very clear picture of what makes you work. So remember that I don't believe in, it's not that I don't believe that some people come with sort of hardwired gifts. It's that I don't find it very helpful. So if the sum total of your story is that you're either born with it or you're not, why read the book, right? So it comes down to there is an element of this stuff that can be taught. And hearing you talk, the part that sounds so interesting to me that I think can be taught is you have really fucking high standards. And more importantly than that, you have high standards that when you look at where it's going wrong, it doesn't damage your sense of self-esteem. So you're willing to look at it. You're willing to what I call staring nakedly at your inadequacies. You don't walk into a restaurant to clap for yourself. You walk into a restaurant to figure out what the fuck's going wrong. Not saying that it's bad, you're just saying that if we want to, and this is my favorite concept of yours, separate ourselves from everybody else.
Easiest thing to do. It's the easiest thing to do. And I tell everybody that no matter what your job is that you can go to work every day and separate yourself from anybody else. And it's no different than the sound guy on this set. If you pick up, you know what, this sound guy is really, really good, and he's worried about this, and he's worried about that, then all of a sudden you tell somebody, you need a good sound guy this, and then they end up on this person because of a recommendation. And all of a sudden, this guy's known as the best sound guy in LA because he's paying attention or she's paying attention to details that the other sound people don't. No, you know what, I hear an ambulance out there. Let's cut it. You know, just the little bitty things. And I just think that it's easy to separate yourself from anybody else, no matter what your position is. If you go to work for a company and you don't go up the corporate ladder, it's your fault. It's nobody else's. You're either with the wrong company where there's no upward mobility, or you should separate yourself. Because I know one thing, if you work for me, I'm paying attention. Nothing goes unnoticed, okay? And I tell people that all the time. If you want to separate yourself, it's easy to do because somebody above you is going to notice it. Your peers are going to notice it. It is easy to separate yourself from anybody else.
Yeah, that notion to me is one of the most critical things that anybody in a company can do. And I love what you're saying about personal responsibility. It's on you, man. If you're not, even if, like you said, it's just that you're in the wrong company, you're in the wrong company. And so if you want to get somewhere where you can move, you either have to go somewhere else or get your skill set aligned. If somebody comes to you and is like, I want to improve, I get that it is specific to that case, but are there general things that somebody can do? Is it start with shut up and listen? Is it the Tillmanisms? Is it getting those things ingrained in your soul? Or is there something else that gives somebody the mental framework with which to propel themselves forward?
You know, I think that you can pick up from talking to me that I'm not on a different level, okay? These are pretty simple, basic tools. And so nobody out there is listening to him and saying, God darn, he's just using words and he's just so much smarter than me, so I'm not going to become worth $5 billion. That book is bullshit, okay? He's just naturally smarter than me. I think you can see that I'm no smarter than anybody else in this room. I just use certain little basic tools to be successful every day. Take the word no out of your vocabulary. Worry about your customer. No spare customers. Use the 95-5 rule. Separate yourself from everybody else. Be the bull at whatever you do. And on and on and on.
Can we
know
go
what
back?
you're good at. Know what you're not good at.
I want to go back to the bull thing. So certainly I understand it when it comes down to an acquisition, being bullish. Basically, when there's blood in the street, that's when there's real opportunity. Like, I get all of that. Now give it to me like I'm a young kid, I'm trying to come up through the mailroom, whatever. Like, how does one embody the bull? Is it about confidence? Is it about audaciousness? Like, what is that thing?
Whatever position you're at, you want to be the bull. And I don't care if you're in the mailroom or if you're the person behind that camera, that I'm going to be better than anybody else with that camera, and I'm going to be the best mail carrier and the person who comes up and is the most organized and does it the most professional way. You can be the bull at any position you're doing, and it's just telling yourself, I'm going to do this better than anybody else. I don't care what the job is. I don't care what you do. You be the bull at what you do.
What drives you? Is it setting goals? Is it the conquest? Is it, somebody that's an all-weather winner? There's something pushing them.
Now
What
it's
is that
just
thing?
sport. It's just the sport of this is what I do every day. And people say, why do you do this? And I just said, because what would I do? I mean, if I can't come to the office and solve problems and fight with everybody and conquest something, conquer, then what am I going to do with myself? I'm going to sit home and die? I mean, that's what I enjoy doing. This is my basketball. This is my game that I play. This is my pickup Monopoly game, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I love going to the office and leading people and trying to conquer something. That's what I enjoy doing. It's sport.
So when you were, it's so interesting because you once said that, when I had my first restaurant and I was finally being successful, and I think you were making like $3 or $4 million a year, and your dad was like, why do you keep putting this all at risk? And you said, that's basically how I think of myself now. Like, you may think that I've gotten big, but to me, this is like nothing compared to where I want to go. How do you dream big, and how concrete are those dreams? Like, maybe you're not willing to say out loud, but do you already know, like, this is my next acquisition, and this is where I'm headed, and this is how I get the NFL team? And
Totally, you're exactly right. This is steps to get to the next level. Now, if I don't pull any of that off, have I reached that point in life where I'm happy? Yeah. I don't feel like, after I bought the Houston Rockets, and once again, who gets to own 100% of their team in their hometown? There's probably not, of all the major 100 sports teams, there's probably not 5. So I feel very fortunate. So if nothing else is accomplished, do I feel pretty good? I feel okay. I really do. I really do. And I thank the good Lord and all the people that helped me accomplish it. But what you just said is happening. I'm taking the next steps right now to get to the next level. Because that's my sport. Let's go play pickup basketball. Let's go to the office and play business. And that's what I do every day. I go to the office and play business. I have weekends. If I'm not on vacation or on the boat somewhere or whatever, and I'm sitting at home and it's Labor Day or Memorial Day and I don't have plans, I'm going nuts. I want to go to the office. I want to attack.
if people want to engage with you, they want to learn more about what you're doing, where would they find you?
Follow me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter and read Shut Up and Listen. And all the people that work for me will tell you that have read the book. That is Tillman talking. That is him. It would capture him perfectly. And like I said, I've never been the smartest guy in the room, never professed to be, but I will outthink you. I will outwork you. I will outmotivate you, and I will teach you how to lead.